Okay, so welcome back. Now we are going to see how a program is executed in Java. So first of all, we have to know the file extensions. Now, for every programming language, there is a specific file extension. For C, it is .c. For C++, it is .cpp. So similarly, for Java, it is .java. Although when you're and the source code initially gets compiled into .class file, but when we are running it, we are running it in .java itself. So, okay, now let's understand the function of compiler and an interpreter. So suppose when I am saying say hello, the computer does not understand English. It does not understand any language. It only understands 10101. So what the function of the compiler is to convert that to make the computer understand what we are trying to say. So how it does that? It converts the language that we speak into a machine language, that is a binary code. So once the compiler compiles it, it converts it into the machine code and the computer executes it. So now the output that we get back is again in terms of binary code. Now again, binary code is something we will not understand. If a huge ASCII code, a huge program obviously will have a huge output. Now obviously we'll not be able to understand the binary code of it. So what we have to do, it needs an interpreter. Now it interprets back to the language that we are speaking. So it will print it out as hello. So that is the work of the interpreter. So I can explain you the use of interpreter in terms of, suppose somebody wants to learn German, somebody is speaking in German, and I have no idea what is German language. So then we have a translator who will translate the language into the language that I know, and then I will understand it. That is the similar work that the interpreter does. It converts the machine language into the language that humans understand. So now let me go into the entire execution of the program. So each language has its own compiler, as we know. So the one feature that Java has, that it does not compile its program into .exe file, which makes it portable and makes it platform independent, that I've already explained previously in the previous modules. So what it does, they are compiled into bytecodes, which the JVM then executes at runtime. The Java source code is compiled into bytecode when we use the JavaC compiler. Now the compiler for Java is JavaC. So it compiles the source code into a bytecode, and then it saves it on a disk with the file extension .class. Now, when the program is to be run, the bytecode is converted using the just-in-time compiler. It is again compiled, and then this time it is converted into a machine language. And this machine language is fed to the memory. As you know, the computer can only understand in binary code. So it is then fed into the memory, and it is executed. So there are two steps in which it is done. The first is we convert the bytecode by using JavaC, and then again the bytecode and save it in the .class file, and then again this bytecode goes into is compiled again in JIT compiler, and which converts it into machine level code, and finally we get the output that is required. So this is the whole execution. So here through a diagrammatic representation of what I just explained. So suppose we are creating a program called hello.java. So this is the source code logic. What it will do is it will convert it to the bytecode in hello.class. Now hello.class, when it is run, it will go to the JVM. Now JVM will first convert this bytecode to binary code, and it will go to the hardware to execute that. This is the simple explanation of how Java runs the entire program. Now, how to create? Now, right from the very beginning, I've been saying how that it is a platform-independent application. So, how to create a cross-platform application? So, first, what we do is we write a .java file, then we compile it, and then once we compile it, it gets converted into a .class file. Now, all you have to do is you copy the .class file, or maybe the .jar file, which you can get in your C drive, and then you copy it, and then you can run it in any OS of your choice, be it Windows, Linux, Unix, Mac OS, anywhere. And then all you have to do is just go to the command prompt and say run Java, and it will run the exact file. That is, in our case, from the example, it will be hello.java. It is a very simple execution. There is no complicated process for copying and then sending it. Very simple. You just copy it you can use it your basic pen drive that we are so used to carrying. Then copy the code in your pen drive and then run it in a different OS, and it will do the work. Okay, so now let's go for the first program. So the main aim of the whole module was to learn how to program in Java. So let's go into it. So first is the class. So there are certain features, certain way in which every programming language is written. So in case of Java, since it is an object-oriented course, so that language, so it will have class and object. So here, let's start with the class. So here you can see it is written class name, and it is given within brackets. So these are some of the syntaxes that you have to follow when you're writing a Java code. So what is a class? So Java is a true object-oriented language, and therefore everything must be placed in a class. So what is a class? A class is a keyword, and it declares that a new class definition follows. Like this is, it is a construct of an object-oriented language. It is present in object-oriented language. That is something which is required. So here, it is just the first line of the code. This is not the entire code. Each code needs a main method to tell the program where to start executing. Without the main method, no program can be run in Java. So let's go. This is an original code. So here you can see, and then it is written public class hello world. You have to make sure about one thing, that when you are creating a program, suppose in this case it is hello world. So the name of your file also has to be the same as that of the program. Otherwise, it will not execute. You have to be very sure that it is the same as the file name. Then it is public static void main. This void main is the main method. This is important. Without this, the program cannot run. It is the starting of the program. So here, in a particular program, there can be many classes, but there has to be, the first one has to be the main. This tells the program from where it can start executing it. Okay. So then the last one is system.out.ln. So here, what it does is, it invokes a member, and then it prints hello world. Whatever you want to print, it is, if you are well aware of C programming, it is similar to printf. Like in printf, we write printf, and within brackets we write so whatever you want to write within the braces. So similarly, this is system.out.println, and this is how you write it in Java. Okay, this is another example. So here, using a string. So in the string, we are writing name. This dot name equal to name, and you want the name to be printed out. So when you want a name to be printed out, you have to make sure that you're writing, since you're already mentioning it beforehand in this particular portion. So you have to make sure that the name, when you are ending it in the println portion, you end it with plus name. That is a string concatenation. They will take the name that you have already written on above the program, and they will print it out. So you have to make sure that you do this. Without this, the name that you want will not be printed. Okay. So next is instantiation and object. So class definition creates class object at runtime. So let me give you an example. Okay. So suppose we buy a new car. So suppose you are buying a normal Maruti. Okay. So now we don't know until and unless somebody tells us what kind of car it is, or what kind of features that car holds, the mileage and all that. We will not know what kind of, it's just a Maruti car, and Maruti has multiple models. So what we do is we create an instance, a file which is class name car. Okay, so then that is the class name Maruti. Fine. Then you are creating one class. Now you want to mention what kind of class, whether it is a Maruti 800, Maruti Alto, Maruti Desire. Then what you do is here, like it is mentioned, class name, my instance. Instead of my instance, in our case, it would be Maruti, equal to, instead of new, suppose you want Swift Desire. So you write Swift Desire, class name, brackets, semicolon. That way, what it is happening is within the class Maruti, the other new class is created, which is under it, that is Swift Desire. So you're creating an instance of the object. So this is how you do it. And finally, what you have to do is you have to create a sample Java program. The ones which we have written previously, the same ones you can practice it and then see if you are being able to do it. Okay, so thank you. We'll meet you in the next module.